Hi everyone, welcome back to my studio, and I'm in my newer studio and I'm having a lot of fun setting it up. So I thought a good video would be all about the things I as an artist cannot live without. I was surviving for a while just carting all my stuff back and forth between my studio and my house and here, and I have found that is simply not going to work. So today we're going to look through my order that I got from Dick Blick of all my favorite things I can't live without that I don't have two of already. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I can't live without, what I must have in both of my studios to survive so I don't have to cart things back and forth. By the way, I do have a supply list that's free to anybody. It's totally free. They are affiliate links, so I get a little bit of money when you use my links, and I do appreciate that. That helps support this channel. And most of the art supplies are linked back to Dick Blick, who I have a special agreement with. So when you buy enough on Dick Blick, they do have free shipping, and their prices really can't be beat. I compare them to some of the Amazon pricing, which has shipping prices built into those prices. So do your research. You might find that especially if you do a big order on Dick Blick, that it will be worth your money to do so. All right, so I'm going to open this up and take a look at what I have. All right, here are some Daniel Smith extra fine watercolors. And by the way, I do mix and match all my watercolors. I don't use just Daniel Smith or just Windsor Newton, because some of the Windsor Newton colors are the best. Like they're ultramarine, they're cobalt. I have not found another brand that does cobalt and burnt sienna and ultramarine, French ultramarine, as well as Windsor Newton, for example. And then on the other hand, I found that, say, Daniel Smith Permanent Green Light or their Transparent Pyrrole Orange is the best of any other brand that I've tried. I'm not saying there's not something better out there, but I can't try every single watercolor pigment out there, and these are my favorites. So without further ado, let's open this Daniel Smith box and see what I can't live without. And yes, sure enough, it is my Permanent Green Light. This is by Daniel Smith, and it's my very favorite way to cool down areas. I'm finding that it's really great to paint wet into wet when I'm painting portraits and I need a cool area. Just put a little bit of this green right into the orange that I already have on my paper where I want the skin to be a little bit cooler, and it's really pretty. So love this color, can't live without it. In this clip, I'm adding Permanent Green Light to this part of her eye socket to tell the story of the light hitting her from beneath, which is a cool color. So you do need cools in skin tones, and this Permanent Green Light is beautiful to use in skin tones. And then this next clip of me using it in the eyes of a leopard just demonstrates how versatile this paint is. I'm using it to create the eye color in this leopard, but this color is also quite useful as a base green when you're painting landscape type things or florals. You can add a little bit of red to it to make it look more of a natural green, and it's a great base green for floral subjects and landscape subjects as well. I use it in all kinds of different subjects. All right, here's some more paint colors. Let's see what I've got. All right, I've got Windsor Newton Burnt Sienna. This is Windsor Newton Burnt Sienna. I have not found another brand that makes a prettier, more transparent, glowing burnt sienna than Windsor Newton. So I got a big tube of that. I paint a lot of animals, so I need what is called this earth pigment. And I love the earth pigments because they have a very natural color. They're made from natural minerals, apparently. And so they are a little bit heavier. They also granulate really pretty. And they just make great colors to mix in with your other colors to gray things down and make them look more natural. Can't live without burnt sienna. All right, I also got Windsor Newton French Ultramarine. I love this color. This is the color I use to mix dark mixes. When I want medium valued mixes, I use cobalt. When I want light mixes, light valued mixes, I use cerulean blue. So this is my French Ultramarine. It's a deep, rich blue that's just gorgeous on its own. It granulates out gorgeous. I love that. It's not staining, which It's not staining, which I love that too, because I need colors that lift easily, because that's part of my technique of softening things for my dreamy realism painting style. So I need non-staining colors, so I can't use the phthalo blues. They're too staining. So French ultramarine is probably my number one favorite blue. Cannot live without it. All right, I also got Windsor Newton green gold. This is kind of a newer color for me, but when I'm painting animal eyes, I love to use this as an underpainting because it's almost like a neon lime color, and it's very unique, and it is a single pigment, I do believe. Yes, pigment PY129. So this actually, even though it leans green looking, it mixes really pretty surprisingly with red. So you can mix this with red or blue, and it makes really beautiful, transparent, sparkling, clean mixes with the other two primaries. So this can be considered like a primary yellow. Can't live without it. And I've worked very hard to find yellows. For whatever reason, I'm never satisfied with my yellows. So it's been hard to find my favorite yellows. And I finally found a yellow I really like, which is Holbein Aureolin. Now, a lot of you pigment nerds out there are going to be like, Aureolins aren't light fast. Holbein Aureolin is light fast. And so it's a beautiful, pure yellow, very primary, which means it will mix equally well with blues and reds. So it's a very much flexible kind of paint. You can use it in a lot of different mixes. It's just a good, basic, straightforward, sunny yellow. Love this yellow. All right, let's see what other paint colors I've got. All right, I'll continue with my Windsor Newton ones first. Like I said, Cobalt is another favorite color that I love. I use this where I need medium values or medium valued mixes when I want to mix it. But this is like a primary blue. It mixes, which means it mixes equally well with yellow and red. So I like this because it plays well with all the other colors, almost all the other colors on my palette. All right, cerulean blue. I do not use this a lot. It's a light color. And in my style, I tend to get really dark, and I do that, I suppose, because I really like to show really dramatic light. So to show dramatic light, you have to have super lights against super darks, and I just don't find myself reaching for cerulean blue, but I think I should. So I'm working on incorporating cerulean blue into more of my paintings. Again, this is an earth pigment, so it grays down colors, very natural looking blues and blue mixes. So I do want to use this more. So I got a tube of it for this studio. All right, yellow ochre. This is another earth pigment. I don't use this a lot, but again, whenever I'm painting like a golden retriever or a natural yellow element, I use this a lot in my leopard painting that I just did, my newest, very advanced gallery level style painting, which means it was a longer painting process, but I did upload that to my Patreon to just my $8 and up tiers. But it is a long painting tutorial and it's advanced. But I did use this yellow ochre a lot painting a leopard because I wanted the yellow to look more natural. Aureolin would look too sunny for yellow hair. This yellow ochre was just the trick. All right, I think that's all my paint colors other than Holbein Opera. This is another one that's new to me. I have seen a couple portrait artists use Holbein Opera in their portraits to add a little bit of sparkling hot pink to portraits, to glowing ears and glowing children's cheeks. Just a little bit though. And if you use this in your painting, you've got to know it is not light fast, so you have to spray it with a fixative or frame it under UV protectant glass. But it is unlike any other color and it's hard to resist. So resist it, I will not. So Holbein Opera. All right, I think that's all my paint colors. The other paint colors that I use, I already have tubes of, like my Daniel Smith Lamp Black. I've done so many tutorials and free videos on this channel about how magical lamp black is and why I love it. It's fur outability. I did this chick painting where the tendrils of the paint reach out into the background or into the lighter paint next to it and make these amazing, it looks like fuzz on a chick or dandelion fuzz. It's so unique and special. It's such a neat paint. Love it. So that's one of the tubes I already have here because I have like 3 tubes of it because I'm obsessed, literally. So be sure you check out those videos. Those are really fun videos to learn that wet and wet fuzz out technique that I love to do. All right. Oh, did I miss some paint? What's in here? Ooh, lots more paint. I missed a bunch of paint. Ooh, what do I have? Oh, yes. How can I forget the M Gram Naphthol Red? Again, this particular red pigment, let me see if I can find the Pigment PR112. This pigment is not used as commonly as other red pigments, and it is like a lipstick fire engine red. It's a very primary red. It mixes beautifully with my yellows and my blues that I use, and it's just a beautiful, colorful, powerful, you don't need a lot, beautiful, popping, eye-popping red. And so this is the red I love most. I don't like the cadmiums because 1, they're toxic, and 2, they're a little chalky. And this is not chalky, it's transparent looking. I avoid chalky looking paintings. I'm a watercolorist, a transparent style watercolorist through and through. All right, I got a new color I want to try. Everyone raves about the quinacridone reds. This is Pigment. Let's see, what pigment is this? This is PV19 Quinacridone Red by Daniel Smith. And stay tuned, I'll be trying this color out. The jury is out. How much I like this, but I can't wait to try this new Quin Red that I've heard so many good things about. I've heard a lot of good things about all the quinacridones, so I haven't tried a lot of them. And then finally, my newest color to my palette that, by the way, I have a whole video, my 10 favorite paint colors. Pyrrole Transparent Orange is not on there because this is my newest favorite color. I really wanted a bright orange. And I was finding when I mixed my Aureolin with my Naphthol Red, it wasn't bright enough for some uses like painting flowers, for example. So I wanted a really bright, bright orange. This transparent Pyrrole Orange by Daniel Smith is gorgeous. So it is now permanently on my palette and I love it. I think that's all my paint. All right, let's move on to brushes I can't live without. I already have this set. I was sad to see that the price of these brushes has gone up $20 since I bought them, I want to say, 5 years ago. This used to be around $50. Now it's around $70. So it's gone up in price, but these are the Silver Black Velvet set of 3. This particular set is on my supply list. All right, so these are my Silver Black Velvet limited edition. Oh, they're limited edition. Maybe that's why. I'm pretty sure this is the same ones that I use. But this set includes a 3/4 oval, which is a great mop style brush. So here I'm using my 3/4 oval to start a painting. Usually when you're painting, you start with your bigger brushes and cover larger areas and get your basic shapes in. So I use my 3/4 oval a lot when I'm first starting out a painting and getting in the main color shapes. You can also splay the bristles of this brush to get a furry effect. Or if you're painting a landscape, you can use it in the same way to paint foliage and other interesting textures by splaying the bristles of this brush. So it's a really versatile brush. An 8 round, which is just my basic go-to workhorse brush. I use that for 80% of my painting. So again, this 8 round is something I use all the time. And by the way, this is the Artist Assist app that I use to paint this really complicated painting. It's a free app. I highly recommend it. But again, I'm using my size 8 here to paint ripples in the water, but I use it for 90% of my painting. And then here's that smaller brush in this set, and it's perfect for little details like these bubbles. And these bristles are half natural hair, half synthetic. So they have the snap of synthetic hair, which means you have more control where your brush goes. It doesn't flop around on your paper. But it also has the advantage of being an animal hair brush, which makes it hold more water so you don't have to dip into your water jar or your paint as often. So that's why these are so great. And they have great points on them too. So I really like these brushes. Silver Black Velvet. All right, this is my 12 long round Princeton Aqua Elite. And this is an all synthetic brush. So it's a great vegan option, but because it is so thick at the base of the bristles and then tapers down to such a thin little point. It holds a lot more water than most synthetic brushes, and it has a great point. And I find myself really enjoying the textures I can get from it too if I push down on it and splay the bristles out. I really enjoy this brush, so I decided to get a second one for this studio. All right, I bought a bunch more tape. I love the Holbein soft tape. It's masking tape. It's a natural color, so it won't mess with your eyes when you're painting. I don't recommend washi tape when you're painting because it's colored, and so those colors will mess with your eye when you're trying to balance your colors in your painting. To have this bright or colorful tape around your painting while you're painting can kind of mess with your color balance. So that's why I like masking, and also this holds to my paper better than anything else. And by the way, I didn't order any paper because I have so much paper already. I have too much paper. But if I was buying paper to stock this studio, I would get Arches cold press 140 pound. And I would also get Stonehenge hot press paper. Those are my two very favorite papers I like. I like the Arches cold press because it's a really tough paper. You can do a lot of scrubbing. You can do a lot of layers, and it's a really tough paper. It's not as great as it was, say, 15 years ago. There was a change of hands. I'm not sure exactly what happened in the company, but something has changed with the way they use their sizing or how they size their paper. It's not as good quality. It doesn't hold up over the years as well, but it still cannot be beat. There's very few papers that will take stiff scrubbing like I use in my soft, dreamy realism style painting, where I have to soften edges with a stiff scrubber. It's hard to do that with a lot of papers. And also the hot press by Stonehenge allows that too with a soft scrubber. It really lifts beautifully. I like to use a lot of lifting and softening techniques in my paintings, so those are my two favorite papers, mostly because of that very reason. All right, I also got a kneaded eraser because it's cheap, so why not have two, right? And you just knead it, and it's a really gentle, delicate art paper, so you can erase without worrying about damaging your paper. In fact, you can use it like a blotting tool to blot up the graphite off your watercolor paper. And for you watercolorists out there, when you put your pencil lines down and you get them wet, it sets your pencil lines. So when you've got your line drawing on your paper, be sure to use your kneaded eraser to lighten your lines as much as you want to before you start painting. Just a little side tip. I always like to add side tips. The one last supply that I got was Windsor Newton removable, make sure you get removable, masking. And in watercolor, the white of your paper is your white. So if you want to have like really fine whiskers, say, you need to mask it or use a white gel pen or use white ink. I really like Kuretake white ink. I did a whole video on Kuretake white ink. I have extra Kuretake white ink, so I didn't need to order that. But Kuretake white ink is not water soluble, by the way. So it does act like an acrylic, but it's my favorite white. But the very best way to have white, though, is to use the sparkling white of your paper. It just can't be beat. So you can use masking to cover up your smallest little whites that would be hard to paint around with masking. You let it dry, and then you can paint over it. I do have a video about masking. I will link it here. All right, that is it for the restocking video. I do have other things, but it's all like camera equipment and video editing equipment. If you would like to know about my video editing and my equipment that I use with my cameras for doing tutorials and things like that, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to share that with you. And I am going to make a video like that for my professional tier on my Patreon. I'd love for you to come join my Patreon if you would like to learn from me more in depth. And you can join my Patreon for free. And lately I've been putting quite a good bit of content up, even for my free members, that is sharing videos with my free members that I don't share with on my larger YouTube channel. So be sure to go to my Patreon and sign up there. I'd love to see you there. And I have a free Facebook group. I'd love for you to join my free Facebook group. You can post your paintings there and I can get to know you a little bit better. I love that. And I leave a comment on almost every painting that someone posts there. So that's a great community. I learned so much from my community, and I hope they learn from me. So it's a great way to get to know each other over on Facebook. And I hope I will see you there and on Patreon. But until next time, go watercolor your world. Bye, everybody.